Hello, how's it going? I am Michael Trudel, and this is Prop Talk. Chris Call's not here today, so sitting in for Chris Call, we have the lovely Lauren Schell, who is our vice president of the PMG and also chair of probably a bunch of things in the PMG.
In the historical committee, I'm a chair, yeah.
Yeah, historical committee, part of the development, all that stuff. So,
oh yeah, I do the development too.
Yeah, if you have any if you need to know anything about the Prop Masters Guild, just call me, Lauren, Chris, or Teresa, and then one of us will be able to answer your questions
100%.
and help you in the right direction. But yeah, thanks for sitting in and helping me out today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
To do this, we have a full house, which I'm pretty pumped about. Joining us is one of the PMG founding members, Heidi Koleto.
Hi, Edie.
How's it going?
Great. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and then also sitting in with us is associate PMG member, assistant prop master, big on working trailers and running trailers. We got Brooks Fairley here.
I'm here too.
Yes. So welcome joining us. This episode... Oh, yeah, no, sorry. There's one more person to introduce that I just got to say. We got running the boards today, Remy de la Mora.
Buenos tardes.
That's right. So he's our tech director in the house.
There's just a lot of good names.
You all right?
No, I'm good.
So yeah, we got a nice full house today, and I've been trying to get Heidi on the podcast for a while, specifically for the work you did to start up the PMG, but more primarily, you have been working as a distance hire in New England for years now.
Yeah.
Right? Under the local
about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Enough so that you actually bought a place in Rhode Island. Huh?
I have a place in Rhode Island, yeah.
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 So you've been primarily just working out there this whole time?
Yeah, I mean, I jump back and forth when I can, and like obviously I still have my home here, so it's one of those like I get to be fun and be bi-coastal. It's very fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to get more into that soon, but let's start off. Let's get to know you.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Great.
let us know about you. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from rural Montana, and then I grew up in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I moved to California in 2008.
Were you a theater kid, or what was your introduction into film there?
My introduction into film was actually I did all the audio, visual, and like weekly videos for a church.
Oh, fun.
And I did a lot of church commercials and like that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of editing. I actually went to film school for editing.
Really?
Yeah.
But the doing the church stuff is what kind of triggered you into...
It definitely triggered me, yes.
Yeah.
It triggered all of us.
Yeah, I think that was like the lead into like, oh, I kind of like this. Like this creative process that feels super collaborative. And so it just kind of led into it. And then once I got into film school, it was like, oh, maybe I like art department better. Maybe I like this better. And it just gave me a lot of room to really kind of find my way into props.
Where'd you go to film school?
To the Los Angeles Film School.
The LA Film School.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's actually where I met Brooks.
We don't talk about that
Yeah,
school.
we weren't in the same class though.
We weren't.
We just both went to the film school at the same time.
I didn't even know you went to LA Film School. I've known you for
I
so long.
I don't
We
put
don't
that
tell
on a resume.
people.
That's-
We can we cut this?
we don't want to start a lawsuit, but if allegedly you're looking for a predatory school that sends out too many loans to people that just aren't ready for that commitment yet, that doesn't really work in the industry anymore anyway. So it's not.
So did it feel like that it wasn't you didn't gain a lot from going there, or?
I would say the most I gained from going there was like the people that I met,
Right.
more than anything. Yeah, I think there was one teacher there who like really taught us a lot of stuff. His name was Nesden Booth. He was a...
That's not a real name.
No, it's a real name. It's a real name. It's an absolute real name. He did a lot of props for like music videos in the 80s.
Cool.
And had like a lot of crazy stories.
So he was a prop master?
He was an actual prop master
wow.
Who worked at the film school doing their... they had like an integrated month where you would have to recreate a scene from a different Academy Award winning movie. And he kind of ran that month and was just like a wealth of information.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was really great. Nesden was the best.
He was one of the few teachers that actually worked with you after you left the school too, and really was an ambassador for you.
Yeah, he was great.
Like he helped you like gain work or send out emails
just as a resource of knowledge and whatnot. The school didn't help you get work. That was a lie in there.
Does.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
Placement isn't a thing in this industry.
Well, they didn't even talk about unions. They didn't talk about actually working. They gave you what would have been a really cool education in film in the 80s, but since none of them had worked since, it was not helpful to actually getting on set. It gave you the bare minimum to know that you are on a set.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, like you knew what a light was.
Yeah.
Or a C-stand and stuff. Well,
so you got some of the jargon down, but you didn't actually... Everything that we learned was obsolete by the time we got onto a set, including the cameras we learned on.
Yeah.
By like many years. It's like, I'm sure they're still teaching on DV tapes.
Oh, wow.
The good old XL2.
But going to there, like you coming out of college that props is the way you wanted to get in, or?
No, I actually went into production design first and did a lot of like... I actually started working at the school afterwards with Nesden, which was pretty cool because it's really interesting to work with someone who's just puts everything together himself and just like creates stuff out of nothing. It was really fun to work with him and like learn from him. But on the side, it was production designing. I production designed a bunch of like short films, and then I did one film that got a little bit bigger. And I just realized that it just wasn't for me.
It's a lot.
The stress of it, I just like did not like the person that it made me into and like how cranky I was. And so then I started art directing and I was like, now I got to deal with cranky production designers. And so I was like, I don't want to do that. So then I started on-set dressing and I was like, oh, this is chill. I like this. I show up, I move things, I go home. Fantastic. Right. This is great. And then I got pulled into props by a prop master that I worked with on like kids movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then I started doing props after that, and then it just like really sunk in, and I was like, oh, I like this. This is nice. Like this is the right amount of like things to play with, but not so much that I feel like I'm just getting angry.
I feel like a kid's movie is... I mean, you're almost getting thrown in the deep end there in a lot of ways because there's so much gags that usually come with the kids stuff. There's a lot of... Like, as far as manufacturing goes, I feel like kids' shows and movies are next to, like, fantasy to where how much you actually have to build and create that doesn't exist and stuff like that. Like, I've never really been on an easy kid show.
I kind of went kid show to kid show right at the beginning because I did that movie, and then I did I think like a season and a half of Bunked, which was a Disney kid show that it was like a spinoff of Jessie, and so it was at a camp. Tons of kids all the time, but I did get to have a lot of fun with that because I was like the third, so I got to create piles of tater tots and just hand them off to a kid and be like, congratulations, you're tater tot kid today. And like that was like my favorite thing. We had to like do these art projects that the kids were supposedly doing, and I did one where it was like, oh, it's a pile of tater tots like in the corner over here in the front lawn. It was fantastic. Tater tot kid. Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that with every kids thing I do. I'm like, today you are tater tot kid.
Yeah, it's kind of great because it's like, listen, this is real special. You get to be tater tot kid today. And then the kid's like, heck yeah, I get to be tater tot kid. And then they like treat their prop a little bit nicer because they're the tater tot kid today. Yeah. Big fan of, because there's always a tater tot kid. There's always a tater tot
I wonder
kid.
if that would work as well with adults.
I feel like it would.
You're the tater cuck.
On a movie I just did last year, there was a fish that we had because they just asked for like weird props for this like scene, and so we had this big fish that we had made to look like it was animatronic somehow, like it had like metal wires coming out of it, and then we wrapped it in like shiny things, and it was like, all right, well, let's find the fish person. And so we found the person. We're like, you get the fish for today. And she was like, I will care for this. And it's just like, as long as you make it into a big deal, they'll make it into a big deal. Yeah, it's great.
It's funny with background, I mean, not as much with the kids stuff, but I worked on Call of the Wild. And there's this scene where they're like carrying these big backpacks and like with boats and stuff like that, just giant stuff up this super steep hill across Alaska through a mountain pass. And it was like obviously it's a background person's nightmare because it's half the day they're going to be climbing up a snowy mountain and coming back down and climbing back up a snowy mountain and go down. But you see, I mean, we've all worked with background. You have your background that comes in, and then they go, what's the lightest thing I can carry? It's like, oh, let me take the sack of flour because I know that only has, like, styrofoam in it. You know what I mean? But there was a couple guys that came over, and he's like, oh, no, I want to carry the paddle boat. Like, I want to carry the full wooden boat. I was like, okay. Because I was looking for the person that was I'm most angry with to give this to. So, I mean, you kind of just...
If you're into it, no judgment.
But I give them a lot of credit because, like, he does it. But you know what? That guy was featured 100 different times. It's like you have the most biggest thing that makes you, like, the center of the scene. Like, watching that scene, he's got a lot of screen time in it.
It's clever on
and I was
part.
like, it is kind of clever because, like, he's almost in it enough to be able to clip it for, like, a reel. So it's like, it really does benefit if you're just like, yeah, okay, you can give me the difficult thing as long as it's cool, it's in it. I'll deal with carrying it all day, So, I mean, maybe you could spin that. I want to try to like tell background that as like, ooh, who wants to be most featured? Take this prop. I don't think it's gonna work, but
I feel like people's eyes will be bigger than their ability, and they'll be like, hell yeah, I want to do that, and then they'll get to it and be like,
yeah.
By
like
anymore.
Take 3, they're like, could we like take some of this out of here?
Yeah. No, people are upset at school scenes just having to carry a textbook.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's like the number one. And I was like, oh, could I just carry a binder? You can have another textbook.
I'm not a fan of rude background, so I always find, like you were saying, the heaviest thing. And I had a guy on a big firefighting scene once where we had these like metal chainsaw backpacks that were real chainsaws, and this guy was just being a dick the whole time. So I gave it to him every day, even though like it changed every day. He'd come through the line and be like, "No, continuity, bud. Here you go." And I'd yell at him every time he put it down. It was a good time.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
sounds great.
I've done a lot of high school movies, and it's the background with all of the backpacks and the book bags and the handfuls of books and like all this stuff, and they're like, could I carry less? I'm like, here's 2 more. Like, don't ask me to carry less.
The director specifically asked that you carry 3 more books.
I'm like, I think I'm gonna add more books to your hands right now.
Yeah. So I see you did a little bit of set dressing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you knew right after production design though you want props was the more fun individual thing?
I feel like it was one of those, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I kind of knew I wanted to stick in the art department, so I just kind of like dabbled in different like roles, and then when I finally like landed in props, I was like, oh yeah, this works, like this clicks. It's all of my non-skills became skills, where it's like, oh, I don't know enough about this to like be like the full skill, but I know enough about it to mix it with this skill to make this thing happen, and it kind of became this like, oh, perfect, yes.
Yeah.
I don't have to know everything. I just need to know a little bit of everything. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah. The ADD was like, oh, we've locked in. This works. I get to do this and this and this and that, and just kind of throw it together, and then sometimes hand it off to someone else to finish off.
Yeah. That's why we brought in Brooks today.
Yeah. Take it away, Brooks.
Heidi, I just have one question. Was Carnal Wishes, is that one of the kids' movies you were talking about, or is that a different film?
I believe you got me that job.
What? It's crazy.
We'll flip it to Brooks a little bit. Brooks,
Speaking
of carnal wishes.
Yeah.
On carnal wishes.
Speaking of carnal wishes.
No, that was Passionate Intentions. I did get my dad in one of those ones.
Oh, yeah?
Which was funny.
And how did you get into props, man?
My back.
After set dressing for too long?
Yeah. No, my story is similar to hers. It was, went to a Christian college and then decided that was not for me.
Yeah.
And then went to film school, the wrong one. And then right after that, I also ended up working at the school because that's the only job you can get. And then
were you guys working together at the school?
For a short time?
For a little bit,
for a little bit.
For a little bit,
No. Which is awkward because you're like a month out of school and all the students were like, "What have you worked on?" You're like,
like
This. Yeah.
here.
But no, once I left that, I did a lot of they say production designing. It's not. Everything. You're just the one art guy they have hired, and they give you the highest title because of lack of options.
Yeah.
You're just doing absolutely everything. So you're doing all this indie crap. Not crap. Very solid artistic work.
Yeah, totally.
That got
the
me
backbone.
My rent, and you get into survival mode, so you're just like doing everything. And by the time you reach the union, everything you've been doing just fits nicer into props. And that's why I was doing only set dressing for a really long time. And it sucked. And
did you know you wanted to do props, though? Or
no idea.
You were still trying to figure it out,
I
right?
had no idea. I just wanted to pay rent and food and make a living. And so once I got more comfortable, we had the pandemic hit, and I was going to be a lead man on a really terrible, low-budget shit show that I decided to not do. And got an opportunity to be on a prop team. It went terribly, and then got a better opportunity to learn how to do the job better for the next year. Then I met you, and it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, Brooks has been my truck guy probably since actually the height of the pandemic almost.
Yeah. On because you and I worked on Am I OK for the first one.
Yeah.
Then American Horror Stories.
Yeah, you were there actually, which is crazy. Is like, I have a truck guy there as you buy your first trailer. You pretty much helped me outfit it, and like build it out of how it should be.
Still a work in progress.
So that was cool, but
it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's It's a beautiful truck.
We have plans. You know, you buy your dream home, and you're like, we can redo the kitchen one day.
Yeah.
You know, so we got plans.
No, we do have a lot more. I think they're always adaptive plans. Like, we have a schematic in my mind and we've already talked it through, Brooks and I, to redo our entire gold room back there and make a whole workstation for him right on the front with a folding down desk and everything.
Amazing.
I know.
Nice.
Well,
it's gonna be beautiful.
The shows we work on have a lot of like last minute, hey, we need this completely fabricated thing out of nowhere that's going to take you a minute and a half to make. Can you do that? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, which is great to have Brooks on as a truck guy. I didn't know what I needed in a truck guy, and I didn't know, like, I was a truck guy before I got into prop mastering. And that's where I liked that world. But, I mean, you make me as a truck guy not as good.
It's the biggest compliment you've ever received, because I'm very bad at my job.
No. You're like kind of all in one pack because you're very well at keeping organized. And I mean, why don't you tell the people what a truck guy does? Because I don't think we've ever actually gotten in. Like, we know that most crews have one, and they have a guy that runs a set or a couple, but we haven't gotten deep into the what a truck person on a prop crew does.
Did you ever see the sequel to The Matrix? It's either Revolutions or the other. You know, I don't Reloaded. The sequel.
Number two.
Number two.
And you remember the guys in the mech suits that are shooting at all of the like squid things coming out of the ceiling? Mm-hmm. Sentinels. I'm just pretending I don't know the name. And then you get the guy that's like running ammo, and he like loads it into the thing while the guy's like, come on! And he continues shooting, and the guy loads it up and then runs back to get more ammo. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I like organize.
A really great description. Oh my god! Like I was like, I don't know about this analogy, and you're spot on, man.
Jeez. It started to work out.
So I like
really
manage. During prep, we separate all of the stuff, and this has been a trial and error process because I honestly thought I knew what the truck guy did, and then I didn't know what the truck guy did when I got a truck guy job, and then I had to learn again by watching other people get fired for being a truck guy and then not do that on several shows. It was great. But, we separate all the props after breaking down the script, and then we put them in bins labeled by characters or scenes, and then I just make sure that we have everything a day in advance at least. I like to be 2 days ahead because then I can do less on the actual day, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And then I'm not stressed, and then I freak out. It's great.
That's it. Yeah, that's the I think that's the absolute like minimum breakdown of what the requirements for a truck guy are. So it's what you said. It's getting the next day ready, having everything organized on the truck that's up and coming, and as we're showing into them. I like to work off of my trailer, so I'm right up in his business all the time, which isn't the case with all prop masters.
Oh, I love it because that means I can just go directly to the source and be like, is this right? And then you go, no, stop bothering me. I'm watching Obi-Wan. I'm like, okay, my bad. Working. He's working.
Yeah. Trust me. Well, he knows too. So we were talking about it the other day. I was like, it's like, okay, well, prop masters, it's not just me, but we'll go in, frantically run, dig through a bin, and then dip out really quick.
Oh, yeah. It's like a hurricane goes through there, and then you're like, peace.
Yeah, so, that's it. He's so good because I'll turn back and the bin's already gone and put away.
Amazing.
And does all that stuff. But so much more. Brooks is very handy. He works with leather. He loves 3D printing and doing a lot of that stuff. He can also draw. So when you're in there and you're able to you have an idea that you need to show a director really quick of what you're going for, he's like, Brooks, can you just do this really fast? And within 30 seconds he'll be like, is this what you're thinking of?
What I did learn is don't show too much of your idea, just specifically what they're looking for, or you can start a shitfest through all of the other departments when that picture gets sent around.
Okay.
And they're like, we didn't draw this. I'm like, I just thought it was cute.
Yeah, so we'll reiterate on that story because that's a decent story, actually. We were working on a show. I think it was American Horror Stories, and there was a character that was very prop intensive. So I think that what year did the script take place? It was 1950s.
That was the 60s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah, the 50s, 60s, and it took place in this rich guy had made a life-size dollhouse, and he was kidnapping people and making them dolls and putting them in.
He's a toy maker, specifically.
He's a toy maker.
This is important.
Yeah. But the character has a bodyguard who, it's scripted that he cut his tongue out, so the guy's mute, so he can't talk or whatever. But he's this big, scary-looking bodyguard. He carries a cattle prod hanging from his belt. He has a gun that's a toy gun and a holster.
It's a real gun that looks like a toy gun.
A real gun that looks like a toy gun.
I thought we were going for a theme.
Right, and then he has a hook arm with a dagger on it that we had. So there's a lot of prop elements, and all the stuff had to be custom because it's all toy looking, and we have to create. So I was trying to get an idea for the concept before I had the digital concept artist make me a more accurate thing. So we're just going through ideas, and I was like, okay, Brooks, you help me just draw this real quick? And we go through, and he draws the full guy in an outfit and a thing, but with a tiny cowboy hat. He's he's in front of a toy thing. So when I said
howdy doody, he's howdy doody, and the imposing nature of his massive size made the hat so much more intimidating and fun and adorable.
Well, long story short, I chopped the head off of the concept and sent it to the director, and the director liked it. He's like, this is fantastic, go. But the problem is the costume's not approved in that. So we learned real quick. It's okay, now next time we do this, it's only going to be on the prop and not the whole guy dressed with it, because that can send in a whole
because then you get sometimes they'll just assume, they won't check who put this together, so they just assume this is obviously from costumes and props, and they collaborated to come up with this concept, so let's get it over to costumes and find out what they're thinking with it. And then costumes is calling you what is this?
Yeah.
Why does he have a little hat? And you're like, because it's awesome.
I thought it was cute.
Don't be jelly.
It was cute, but you learn. It's one of those learning moments. All right, but what I'm saying though, it's great to have a truck person that's so handy, because half the job, not only is it making the next day go out without a hitch and making sure you have everything on the cart for for the next day, but it's also fixing problems that arise on set. I think somebody once told me it's like the assistant prop master on set, they're in the now. The truck person is in tomorrow, and the prop master's in next week, and the shopper. So I think that was like the perfect way to kind of like break it down and describe it.
That's really great.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
As far as like looking at positions go. But you do a lot, like, I mean, with a lot of the shows we work, a lot happens on set. So if anything breaks, he's there to like help it in. Background, he's heading the charge. Whenever we have like an influx of background and additionals, like the point person right here, you know. So it's a heavy job.
It's fun. I love it. I like having a truck I can retreat to. It's very good for introverts, just if anybody is wondering there.
Yeah.
Because you're left alone a lot. It's awesome.
Yeah. You got a little taste of running set these past couple of weeks too.
It was, you know, you climbed a mountain and you're like, I'm never doing that again. And you got off the mountain, you're like, I miss the excitement.
Yeah. The adrenaline is still pumping.
And this was a show to do it on too. We can't talk about it. We signed an NDA.
Yeah, no, that one we can't talk about. We can say that we all just worked together.
Yep.
Yeah, well, us three.
It's allegedly a tough show.
It's very much a tough show.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Anyways, Heidi. So, when did you really start to dive into the props department and going through?
I guess like my first real taste of like being in props and like finding my groove would be baskets.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I had been like the truck person on all my other shows, and baskets was the first one where it was like, okay, I'm on set. And that was the moment I was like, oh shit, this is it. Like, I love this. I love being in it. I love finding quick fixes and just like rolling with it, making sure that like, yeah, we're ready for absolutely everything, and just like being prepared, the organization of it, of just like being in it plus all of that. Loved it. Thrived in it.
Yeah.
And Baskets was perfect. Baskets is one of those shows that like, when you were in it, I did 3 seasons of the 4 seasons, and like when we were in it, it was like, this is special. Like, this is a very special show. There's not going to be another one like this. And like being years away from it now, it's like, oh, there's going to be nothing like it, because it was just, the cast was phenomenal, the crew was phenomenal. It really did feel like a family, but it was like a family that could actually work together, and it was just, yeah, it was fantastic.
Was it a hard show?
Yes. Oh, absolutely, because it's about clowns, you know, first of all. So you have just
so that's emotionally draining right there.
Rodeo clowns specifically. So you have like all of that to it. And then Zach played 2 different characters. So you have like a lot of scenes that you're doing like multiple times, and then like watching the props go from one to the other, and like matching. It's like very, very involved. And then of course, Louis Anderson, who was a phenomenal human being, wonderful human being, would always just be like, you know what would be fun? What if I had a little alligator I pulled out of my purse? And it's like, I don't know if that would be. And he's like, maybe just a Dasani water. It's like, all right, I can do a Dasani water, Louis, that we can do. We always there's this fantastic, she's a director, but also produced Baskets, named Anna DeCosa. And her main thing on everything that she works on is like, there has to be something in purses and cups. Like, you have to have that weight in it, because like, we see it. You don't want someone holding a cup or a purse or whatever. But Louis would put his water in there, his snacks in there, all of his stuff, but he'd still just like swing his purse around everywhere and just like fling it around and just like tossing it. And Anna would constantly come up and be like, we got to put something in there. I'm like, I'm promising you, that thing weighs 15 pounds right now. He is literally, if he loses that, it will harm someone. Like, it's going to fly and it's going to hurt. But it was such a special show, and such a great time.
With a show like that, is it one of the shows, like, because with comedies, and we've been talking about this in the last episode too, but with comedies, it seems to change a lot right up to the end as producers think of bits. And we know from experience what we just worked on as well.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So was this was the type
100%.
of the show like that? It was constant of like figuring out what we have around, little alligators.
Oh yeah, I remember one time it was the end of the day. The prop master was out, and it was nearing the end of the day. And the producers, the director, Jonathan Kreisel, who did every episode, like we all got together, sat down at a bench in this park, and he's like, "Okay, so tomorrow morning for the first thing up that we're shooting in Long Beach, because we have all these buskers, we want them to have a bunch of different magic tricks." And so just started listing off things that he thought was funny as I'm like frantically texting the prop master, being like, "We need this, we need that, we need this, we need that," and it's like, everything's closing. The sun has gone down.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you're going to find it, but good luck. And it was just, you know, we showed up the next morning. It was like, we've got this and we've got that. And here's some ice cream. And they were like, yeah, okay, this works. And, you know, really understanding about it. But it was still just like constantly that last minute, like, we've decided we need 5 gallons of this. And wouldn't it be great if we had a never ending scarf that was like 10 feet long? And it's like, I guess it would be cool. Yeah, let's see what we can do.
Yeah. I think comedies will still put you in a place what it was mostly before our generation, where there was no internet thing, because it's just like, what can you get tomorrow, right? Like right now. Like it needs to come in, and it's always those fresh ideas. It's like the joke will only be as good as what you can find in the moment.
Yep. But it was that show was 1 in a million. It was so great.
And you've done mostly comedies, right? Is that
I mean, I guess in the last couple of years I've done less comedy, but for a long time I did mostly comedy, like dark comedies, which was I love. So that's great. Yeah.
You were on What We Do in the Shadows?
I did the pilot.
You did the pilot?
I did the pilot of it, which was like a huge thing because I loved the original movie.
The movie's so good.
It's so funny. So when I found out that they were shooting the pilot here and that we had it, it was like, I've made it. Like, this is it. And then being on set with Jermaine and Taika and like them in there in this moment, it was so much fun. And they have that. You've seen the pilot? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how they have like the nerds like doing like role playing in the park and that kind of thing. The prop master I was working for at the time let them know that I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh God.
And so then I got cornered by the both of them being like, so tell us about this nerd talk. What should they be saying? And like, it was like, I just got outed, but I'm like really proud about it. So anyways, this would be a lightning bolt, and just like kind of helping them with that. It was beautiful. It was a lovely moment.
You got the Dungeon Master, the scene.
Right, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
It was kind of fun.
So, tell us a little bit about what drove you. Like, what was your first show traveling?
Technically, my first show ever traveling, or
sure,
first show traveling with props.
Yeah.
First show ever traveling. Brooks and I did a tiny little show in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota.
Really?
Yep, we were out there for 2 months.
I feel like I've known Brooks for so long, and I haven't heard any of these stories.
Oh, dude.
It sounds like he avoids them.
Yeah. Yeah. We like almost died a couple times on that
We had
show.
a night where 2 people were hospitalized, and they still wouldn't call it.
Wouldn't call it. We all had to like
of what?
band to get. Well, first of all, we were shooting in the Badlands, and a freak storm hit. So then we started getting washed out.
It was an overnight.
It was an overnight.
Oh.
Our AD slipped in some of the mud, fell, and they had to take him to the ER. And as they were going to take him to the ER, our script supervisor was like, hey, I've been coughing up blood for 4 days. Can I go with? And we're all like, what? So she goes with. They're like, you know what? We're going to keep on shooting without both of them. And we're like, how is this even possible? We're all trying to wrap our minds around how it's even possible. The guy who was going to take people to the hospital gets his car stuck in a like almost goes over
There's
a little like
there's
we're
one
getting
path
washed out.
There's one path by car you can take in and out of the valley we're shooting at, and our illustrious producer who was trying to get this truck out didn't realize you should drive on the grass and not on the mud during a rainstorm. Mud, and so the car got stuck and started drifting towards a riverbank that was like a 4-foot drop into a river. Luckily it didn't, but it blocked the only way in and out. So we all had to kind of
So they had to call up the hill to where base camp was. Then they called into town, which was like 20, 30 minutes away, and got a couple locals to show up in their ATVs to like drive down, toss us in the bed of these trucks and get us out to a road so that we could get out of there.
We still had to hike a good 20 minutes in the rain
I think we
to get to the
wrapped,
point where they could pick us up.
We wrapped, and then 3 hours later, we were all out of the location.
What movie was this?
It's called Valley of Bones.
Allegedly. It was allegedly called Valley of Bones.
Valley of Bones.
And this was like a little indie movie, or?
Yeah.
It was there was some danger involved. Our stunt coordinator got a concussion for driving a truck along a path that he didn't clear. Yeah. And so there was a big rock that split the axle and a Harry and the Henderson style dent in the roof of the truck where his head smacked. I felt so bad for laughing at that, but honestly, just boop.
Yep.
Was the entire crew brought out from L.A. or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
oh
we
yeah.
conquered
Every single one of
little
us.
town they had there.
They had a stoplight. That's how big this, or didn't have a stoplight. They had a stop sign. There was an elevator that went into a hotel. That was big news before we got there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was still a minute walk from the bar, the one bar that we would go to every night, and the hotel, and we still had DUI issues.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We also shared a producer with Rust.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, there you go. There's a connection. Yeah.
We did shoot on the oil fields in Culver City, and the hero truck, the big master plan, because it's supposed to flip over, and then oil is supposed to pour in, and our bad guy is, spoiler alert, supposed to die. And so their big plan was to push the truck over. So they gathered as much of the crew as they could, 40 feet from an active oil derrick, like an active oil pump. And they're like, just everybody pick a side and flip the truck. And like, I was leading it, and I was sitting with all of the dressers, and they're like, aren't you going to get them to help? I'm like, we're not doing a damn thing. We're not. This is terrible.
I think you're forgetting the really important part.
They didn't pull the gas out?
Yeah, no,
or
we
the
get
oil,
there. The
or
engine's
the
still in
fluids?
it. There's still gas in the Like, they drove it up to set, and it was like, hi, you're going to flip the vehicle. You literally just drove over, like, on... Oof. I don't know if this is the right thing, guys. I don't know. And so we had to kick that scene to another day so they could...
After somebody told the site rep.
Because they were crashing it? That's what it was happening?
No.
They were just going to, like, fully flip it and start to submerge it, but it still had all the fuel in it. It had it's dangerous.
I was just on an indie movie where they flipped a truck, and I didn't know how much went into that, because they take the gas tank out and they put in a gallon gas tank with a sponge in it. Specifically so when they flip the vehicle, it doesn't ignite in flames. And it just, they have to, each take, of the rehearsal, they have to put a new gallon in, because the sponge soaks so much of it out that it only has enough gas to make it from one end of the street down to the other at full speed. But that's, again, made so once they hit the ramp and flip it, any sparks that happen, there's not going to be any gas to really get it going.
That's what you want to do it the cowardly way. You can come over to our shoot and just take a bunch of dudes and flip that as is, and just don't make sparks.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That was our plan. Next to an oil pump.
Next to an oil pump. Well, yeah.
We could talk about that movie for hours, because of.
But I bet you learned a lot.
We did. We really did. We learned a lot about collective action, because it was the entire crew the day after we got washed out being like, hi, we're not working tonight. We got back at 5 a.m. It's still a mud pit. We're not working. And the producers were like, come on, guys. And literally everyone, grip, electric, makeup, props, everyone were like,
down.
No, we're not gonna go. And it was great.
Yeah. That's interesting.
We also learned how fast a calf can run from a moving production vehicle, and it is fast.
I don't know what that means.
Don't take back roads.
That's
I got you. Yeah. So
the calf is fine.
So when did you get your first prop traveling job, I guess?
That would be Nosferatu.
Nosferatu?
Season 2, yeah.
Okay. Yep. Was that in New England? Or?
It was. It was in Rhode Island.
That was the one in Rhode Island.
That was the one in Rhode Island.
So you went out for Nosferatu.
Yeah.
And just didn't really come back?
I mean, I technically did.
Well, yeah. You're here now.
Yeah. I come back every time after I finish a show. But it was one of those like, oh, yeah, I hear there's like another show that we're going to do. Like, oh, great, cool, yeah. So, go back out for the next show. And then the pandemic happened, and it was like, well, I'm already out here. I guess I'm just going to stay here. Because, like, staying in Rhode Island in comparison to, like, driving myself back to LA during, like, the height of the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to hang out in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. And when you went out for the show, did you probably just went out to do the show? Did you have any intention of like
no
keep getting
intention? No.
So is it the same production company that keeps hiring you at this point?
For a couple of them it was. I've done a lot of AMC shows out there.
Yeah.
There was Nosferatu, Kevin Kneff himself. There was another AMC show that we got through 2 blocks of that got canceled.
Oh, really?
Before we shot the final block. But for the most part, because it is like a smaller market, even though it is kind of big, there's like I've worked with a lot of the same people.
And does a production company that keeps hiring you as a distance hire from out there, or?
Yeah, I mean it's there's a couple different producers that I've worked with in New England who have hired me the most, or who have like been referred by someone else who is like a local producer who hired me. And because a lot of the department heads get to come in, they just brought me in. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did Nosferatu, then the pandemic happened?
Yeah. Did Nosferatu. I had my roommate out here watch my cats, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I've got another 6-month show. I'm going to bring my cats with me this time. I rented a place instead of staying in the hotel. And so I brought my cats out, which was another reason I was like, well, I'm not going to take the cats back now. That was a long enough trip as it was. So
it was a very long drive.
It was a very Brooks drove with me from here to there.
And there were 3 cats and 1 kitty box in the back seat of that truck.
Yeah, we had a great time.
I bet.
So, yeah.
At one point, a cat got to the front and turned off the engine.
Yeah, a little push start.
On the freeway.
That was during a snowstorm.
During a snowstorm.
During a snowstorm.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
So then, living out there, I mean, when did you make the decision that you were just going to stay there during the pandemic? You said, or
yeah, I mean, I guess like
because that seems like a scary time for you. I mean, for us, anyways. Just like, oh well, let's just hope that after this, work comes back here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I still have my place here. It's definitely one of those like if I can spend my time there, I will. I really fell in love with Rhode Island.
Yeah,
just as a place that I think that no matter what, I'm happy to like have a home base there, whether or not I work there again or not. I'm down to have that. That's really, really nice. It has this beautiful mix of like big city because it's a state capital, but at the same time, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
So Providence is just,
That's what I was trying to tell you. I was like, I love Providence because it's like a great giant city crammed into 2 blocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's just some like really nice things about it. I found out my grandfather's from Fall River, which wow. I didn't know. I didn't know him that well, so I didn't know. But it's kind of like, oh, okay. Like things just kind of like, it works. I really like it. And like working out there, I always try to be a good guest because I still feel like a guest. I mean, I'm a distant hire.
Yeah.
And the crews out there have been so great. And like there are some really, really talented people out there who do really phenomenal work. And it's kind of been nice to work in something like after like growing up in the LA scene. It's really interesting to get out there and be in a world where like union rules are very serious. I haven't aged anything. I haven't painted anything in years because we always have a standby painter. We always have like a huge paint department that is like ready and willing to make molds for us.
Oh, that's amazing.
To like do everything for us. There's wonderful special effects teams out there. Same thing where like I did reshoots for the new Salem's Lot movie, and the things they were asking for, like the day before we need to shoot it, of just like, well, we need something that looks like a steak, but it's not a steak. It needs to be able to stab a vampire, but we can't have it like projected that that's what it's going to be used for. Yeah. So we need this, but it can't be that. And so all of the like rentables were out. So I just had to hit up someone, one of the special effects guys out there, this guy Adam, and be like, hi, can you make me 7 of this by tomorrow, and also I need to perfectly copy this random splinter of wood into something soft, and I need 4 of them. Half of them need to be hard, and he's just like, oh yeah, sure, that's no problem. And like literally the next day was like, here you go. And it's like, oh, fantastic, I'm just gonna take this over to paint. And they're like, oh, what do you need it by? I was like, well,
that's
today
amazing.
Would be great. And they're like, 4 hours okay? And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I just walk back over to my little bay of props and it's like, oh, all right, fuck yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Like it's so fantastic. Yeah.
And so the teams, you said you were nervous about them kind of accepting you and still trying. You feel like an outsider sometimes. I've heard that they're pretty cliquey over there, and they're set in their ways with certain people. I know that they're hard workers and they're a lot more surface level. So I would never go into that environment being like, well, in LA, this is how we do it.
That is how you get people to
hate you.
Right out the gate. And like, I think that's one of the reasons that it worked out in my favor that they didn't hate me, is just because I went and I'm like, I don't know how you do it out here. Do you want to just tell me? Do you want to let me know? Like, I'm happy to work with however you work.
Oh, yeah.
And like, if I see something where I'm like, okay, well, I've learned something that could help speed us along with this, it's not going to be in LA. It's just what if we tried it this way? The same way we're supposed to collaborate with like our coworkers anywhere. It's just the same thing, and just giving the mutual respect for film crews who are doing the same thing we are, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Barely a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. It's got to be better. I know there's not as much beating around the bush there. They're going to tell you right away, which probably you could get things done a lot quicker that way.
Oh, yeah. It's great. I love the directness, because like even the directness in having conversations with producers is just, I can just be straight up and be like, listen, I'm going to be over budget because this has been asked for, this has been asked for, and this has been asked for. We talked about none of those things happening.
Yeah.
And we can do it, but I'm letting you know, like, we're going to go over. And they're like, yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
All right. And that's like it.
Can it be this number? Can the script change? No, it's going to be this number. Okay,
all
great.
Right, great. Yeah,
moving
on. You gotta do what you gotta do. And it's like,
it is what it is.
So much. Yes.
Yeah. So since you are a local 44 and you're a distance hire, it means every time you get start and finish a new job, that means you have to fly in and out of LA anyways, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if a job ends and you're about to start right up on one, you just got to like land in the airport and jump right back on another flight.
Yeah, usually if it's something that's like too close, and I haven't really run into anything that's like too close to overlapping, I would probably be like, you're going to start me in LA. I'm going to take a couple days at ISS and get things started rolling here, and like, because that makes sense.
Yeah.
And because I don't want to exhaust myself
before
I even get started.
That might be the bright side about having to do that too. Do you usually get a few days at ISS to kind of get things together and handpick your rentals?
Sometimes. I haven't in quite some time. I guess post-pandemic, really, I haven't. So only did it like once or twice. But it is nice that it's flexible. Like they understand I'm coming out from someplace. They're willing to like work with me on that. And then also because I have been working with ISS from afar for so long, it's like I have a nice shorthand with my sales agent to be like, these are the things I'm looking for. This is kind of what I'm hoping for. Like, just, it teaches you to be very clear, very concise with what you're asking. It teaches you to ask for photos of absolutely everything.
Right.
And it's like, and every once in a while you get a fun surprise of someone else's props being sent across the country to you. And you're like, I don't know why I have this life-size golden retriever, but we have a life-size golden retriever.
Truck mascot.
Yeah, we kept him around because they couldn't figure out what it was supposed to go to. So we just had this dog with us the entire time. It was fun.
Yeah. So the local out there is Local 481.
Yes.
How do they feel? I mean, they got to know you by now after 4 years and doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And are they okay with it? And do you have an intention of eventually joining that local?
I think because I've had this conversation with a couple people at the local, and I'm friends with a couple people who are like on the board, and my main thing is health insurance. I am a person with disabilities, and I need my health insurance, and we have really great insurance through Local 44, and so I have to keep that up. They understand that. There have been like, would you ever? And if there was a way I could keep my health insurance and be 481, I would absolutely join 481. Yeah. But because of the system and the way that it's set up right now, I need to maintain 44, which is why I maintain my housing here and why I maintain working here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been splitting my time between there for the past year or so too now. And that's kind of the same thing. I've been trying to get into 481, and I can't work there right now because I'm not part of Local 481, so I have to maintain my insurance and payment by keep coming here and working and stuff like that. So that's
which we are thankful for.
Yeah, I know.
Very thankful.
Yeah, no, but that was the thing. I was like, I cannot sacrifice my Local 44 card specifically for that. So it's definitely a whole thing. So the answer is one day.
One day, right. And like I do, like, yes, it's kind of cliquish, but I feel like it's also kind of surfacey, where it's just in that, like, we just want to make sure you're good people type of thing. Like, of course, it was like awkwardness and like, you know, like, how do you mix with the locals when you first get in there? But I think after being there for 4 years, it's very much if you come in with respect and you respect like the work that they're doing and like respect that these are trained craftspeople, then you're going to be fine. Like the respect will bounce back to you and like the clicks will disappear because it's just, we're all just working. We're all just trying to work. Yeah.
That should be anywhere, you know. Just don't go in swinging.
Like I'm very fond of my adopted New England family. Like I've been lucky enough to like work with a lot of phenomenal prop people out there and been like adopted by their group, and it's I take it as a compliment.
Oh yeah,
very much
totally. So with the New England, what's the New England system too? Because I mean you guys are so close to New York, and in New York, prop masters handle not only chairs, but for like Video Village, they also they do the tents, they do the air conditioners and the heaters for the tents and the actors, and pretty much of the whole set. Is that how they do it in Boston?
No, we do chairs obviously, but no tents, none of the things.
Picture cars?
Picture cars, we always have a picture car coordinator, and like a lot of times it'll be something that like comes through my department or like works with my department directly, but for the most part the picture car coordinator is hired by the producers and we just kind of work in tandem.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Oh, listen.
You have a trailer out there, right?
I technically have 2 trailers.
2 trailers?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I had a trailer from 1969 that came up from Atlanta with the first show that we did that I kind of inherited. And bought from ISS, and then the gate completely failed. It had to be cut off of the truck.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
It just seized and wouldn't release.
Snapped.
Oh jeez!
Because it was the guys who came out to look at it were like, "This gate shouldn't exist. This gate is a death trap. No one should be anywhere near this gate. We're going to cut it off as a kindness to you.
It's going to explode."
Yeah. They're like, you're lucky no one was harmed in the use of this gate. And so because the body of the truck is also really rusted, it would cost me around $20,000 to get a new gate attached to it. And it wouldn't have happened until like last fall. And so I was in a position where I was like, I'm working currently. Like I was on a show. I need something. Like I need the ability to work. And they're like, we've got a tube truck. And it's like, this is not going to work. I can't do it. It was like a period show too.
Oh, so you needed a trailer's worth of stuff. Yeah.
We had it. Yeah. And so there was a prop master who was retiring, Jen Gerbino.
Oh, yeah.
Who has a prop truck that has traveled through like a lot of prop masters in New England. So it is a New England built prop truck. And she was trying to sell it. And I was like, well, this worked out perfect timing. And so I bought her truck. So I have 2 kits worth of props, and I have a lot of fun to go through and just figure out what the hell I have now. I have too much. I have too much props.
Yeah?
Too much props.
Are you planning on replacing the gate, or are you just going to try to get rid of it at some point?
I think the thing is it has these beautiful built-in wood cabinets inside of it, and it's really, really beautiful. But the trailer's from 1969. Like it sat in a like garage in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time. The rust is being eaten by more rust. Like to get a new gate on that, I would have to like redo so much extra about that truck. So I guess I'm kind of in limbo with it at the moment.
It's a storage box.
That's kind of what it is. It's my tiny little prop house. So the goal would be to like clean out the working truck, so that I can have it all together and then just have my tiny little prop house on wheels that just hangs out and that I still have access to, because it's got like a side door and everything. And the place where I store them is one of our picture car guys, and he's got a forklift to help me get the heavy stuff out. So it's at least, it's still accessible. It's still accessible.
Yeah.
Just excessive. Yeah.
Now, when you work there, is it typically locations that are just all over New England, or are you in the city a lot in Boston? Like, what's it typically look like?
It's dependent.
Yeah.
There's a couple shows that I've done that like we've worked out of stages, which is mostly like an older warehouse that they've like gutted. There's one that in Randolph, Massachusetts, that they've like built a giant sound wall in, and it's like really nice until the geese start landing on the ceiling and then you can really hear them. But otherwise, it's really great. And so we have those stages, and then there's another stage in northern Massachusetts that I forgot the name of, but it's like an actual stage. There are like 3 or 4 stages. They're actual sound stages that are great. And so sometimes you get lucky and you work in those kind of places, but then it's just everywhere. Yeah. Like there was one show where we were driving all the way up to like the New Hampshire border for one location, and then we were all the way down in New Bedford for another location, and they're a day apart, and you're just like driving absolutely everywhere. Everywhere is at least like a 30-minute drive apart, and you just deal with it. Yeah. Yeah.
Do they ever, like, since New England's so spread out and a lot of those locals come, do they ever put people up? Like, are you put up on hotels a lot? Just kind of all over since the spread is so big? Yeah.
Absolutely. They're actually really good about that. It's like, I'm exhausted and it's a 45-minute drive home. They're like, oh yeah, we got this hotel over here. Just tell us how many rooms you need. Like, they're very good about that.
And it's like what Local 44 covers the greater Los Angeles area. Local 41 covers 5 different states that's hundreds of miles apart from each other from as far as their jurisdiction goes. So I feel like that might be difficult for some, because half your crew's got to be like a little bit from Rhode Island, a little bit from Boston, some from New Hampshire, maybe from Maine.
One of the standby painters and boom ops that I've worked with a lot out there, they both live in New Hampshire, and so when they're working, they get a hotel for the week that they just stay out of, and then they go home on the weekends.
Yeah. And that's just a common thing too. That makes sense.
And if they need a hotel room closer to where set is, because the hotel room that they rented them is too far away, they'll get them another hotel room.
And productions are good about renting for those people there?
Yes.
It just
at
comes
least
in with
the
it?
production, I mean, the nice thing about being distant hire is like I'm being hired on shows that can afford to hire distant hire and hire a decent amount, and so they're budgeted correctly. Like they know they have to take care of us. Like it's I've gotten very lucky in working with shows that like do care about their crews. Yeah. And I think it's also because it is in comparison to here, it's a smaller market, and so like everyone knows everyone. Everyone has worked with everyone. Everyone, like, there's so much crossover with everything that it's like you want to take care of them because you don't want to be known as like the local person who doesn't take care of their crew, who like is a jerk about this kind of stuff. Like you want people to continue working for you, and so there's incentive.
Is there prop houses out there, or does the majority come from like places like here?
I would say a lot of my smalls come from LA. There's one like prop house called Westerman's. Westerman's, yeah. They do kitchen and restaurant supply on like the base floor, and then above that is like set deck, and then in the basement they have more like set deck, and then there's like a top floor that has a bunch of smalls, and it's in just like it's in Worcester, which is just in this like back area that you wouldn't know it was there. It's kind of wild, but it's really great. Dan Diaz runs that, and he's always so happy to like have film people come in. They're super happy to be a part of like the community out there. It's really nice when you can rent from Westerman's.
Yeah. That's all. We got to hit them. We have to add them to the sponsorship reach out list.
Add to the list.
That's so funny. But aside from that, it's primary. I mean, I guess you having the relationships already at ISS and stuff like here, it's easy to ship and stuff.
It's nice because it's like, having grown up here and like learned everything here, it's like, oh, okay, I know I can go to this place, this place, this place, and like I know these will be really great about shipping stuff out. It also teaches you on like a lot of different like, oh, I should not order from this place if I can't be there and pick things out. Like I need to be able to hand pick items and not just have them shift. And then there's other ones where it's like, I don't even have to care. They know what I want. I can just like send them a vague question and they'll be like, here's 17 options. And you're like, this is great. This is fantastic. Yeah.
Amazing. I know Lauren wanted to ask you questions about Julia.
Oh, yeah. Well, honestly, it's just because I love that show so much. Do you have like a food stylist out there that is, are they from here? Like, are they from local up there?
Yeah, there's a local food stylist named Christine Tobin who is fantastic. She's a chef, has like her own cookbook, like has done a lot of stuff. She did Little Women. If you watched any of the new Greta Gerwig, she did the newest one. Yeah, the food in that is just beautiful because it's just Christine is very careful and like mindful of her food props and just like making sure they evoke the feeling of the time or like evoke like the sense, like she really wants to be involved in like the emotional byproduct that food brings, which is like really nice to have someone like really, really involved. And also is just another crazy prop person at the core as well. So that's also nice.
So she's a prop person. She's not like a chef out there.
She is a food stylist. Her job, she works as a food stylist.
Okay.
Like that's what she does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so on Julia, they built her own kitchen on the stage. Nice. So she had basically an industrial kitchen on stage. She had a walk-in refrigerator.
Wow.
She had like prep stations. She had a refrigerator, which was the nicest thing. She had a refrigerator right outside of her kitchen that any of the food that didn't get used for that day, any of the extra food, she would box it up and put it in the fridge for crew members to take home. And so that people could have like some of Julia's food, because she made everything. She made everything real. She had her own crew of like 3 to 4 people. Wow. She had shoppers, everything. And so if there was leftover food, she would package it up and have it ready for crew to take home. And so the crew ate like kings on that show.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Oh, they had a great time with that. Yeah.
I do. I love that show so much.
It was fun. It was in retrospect, I'm like, wow, what a fun time. The during process was very, very, very stressful. Yeah. It was very, very stressful. I only did the first season, and it was a lot.
I mean, food shows are tough.
They're very tough.
They're so tough.
Yeah.
There's so much elements.
Yeah, and especially when, like, food is, I mean, it doesn't have a position on the call sheet, but food is number 2 behind Julia. Like, it's a character of its own.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, it's a character. You have to, like, really care about it, and so they want to film the process of a lot of this stuff. So then we had, like, a live stove in the set so that we could film her, like, making the food, and a lot of times it was just putting the food stylist in Julia's clothing and just having her get in there and doing like the close-up shots of it. It was a lot, but the cast was lovely. The cast was absolutely delightful. Great. Really easy to work with, was like very flexible with the food stuff and like wanted to learn as well. And so it was kind of, it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah. It's awesome. Let's talk about Kevin Can F Himself.
Yeah, Kevin Can F Himself.
How was that?
Also a lot of fun. It was really interesting to do something. I think the basis of it was really interesting because it was supposed to be a show that is multicam and single cam in one go, where it's like it's about the husband when it's multicam, and it's the that world of like that dopey, you know, husband who's a jackass, and then the like hot wife who's just there as like a punching bag. But then we cut out of that and go to single cam, and it's a lot moodier and darker when it's following the wife and it's just about her story and about who she is. And it's really interesting in that as just like a basis of it. And the interesting thing is like switching props from multicam to single cam, because like bright, shiny, new, like make it something kooky for multicam, but then some of those things have to travel into single cam, and like, what does it look when the light is different? Like, how does this affect when we take it from A to B in this world? And like, or something that starts in single cam moves to multicam. It gets really, really interesting with that.
So this had to have been built on a stage.
Yeah, we had a lot of stage for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like building these sets that are so lit and gridded and
oh yeah, it was because like multicam filming is not something that happens a lot in New England,
right?
Like sitcom filming, it's like not something that happens.
It's so almost a whole different camera setups that are huge.
Oh,
and heavy
absolutely. We had
enormous.
the pedestal cameras.
Yeah, the pedestal
for those
cameras.
Days we had camera guys come up from New York whenever we did that. Yeah, it was great.
That's crazy. Do you guys hire a lot of local 52 people too when there's not enough 481, or it's pretty well staffed out there?
I've not been in a position where we've had to hire anyone from New York.
Yeah.
481 is a local that like you can do anything.
Yeah.
So like I've had someone that I've hired as props has like gone on to do electric on another thing. A guy that I knew who just did costumes is doing gripping on this other show. And so in general, I've had plenty of people to come in and work with us. I'd say Julia season 1 was the one time where it was like, we do not have enough people and I need to bring someone in. So we brought one person in from LA to like help finish up the season.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about finally, I mean, this is the one I want to talk about the most, Good Burger 2.
Oh, Good Burger 2. Yeah. Yeah. That was, first of all, it was really interesting to be like, we're going to shoot Good Burger in Rhode Island.
I know. Because they shoot the first one in LA? Or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So what was the thinking to do the second one in Rhode Island? And make it look like
Keenan.
Oh, Keenan?
Yeah, because he like still needed to be in New York for
Saturday Night
SNL
Live.
and like all of that stuff. And so, I mean, Rhode Island's a quick train. You know, it's pretty simple. And so Rhode Island fit. They also have a bunch of film incentives. And I didn't mind a 15-minute commute for a couple months. That was really nice.
Oh, yeah. To be straight there. What?
Yeah.
How familiar were you with the original Good Burger?
I mean, I'd seen the original Good Burger as a kid. Yeah. And I definitely had to watch it again. And that was like a fun, like, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was mayhem at times, lots of food. I fractured my ankle like a couple weeks into shooting. So I was like hobbling around as well while trying to do all of these food scenes, like while trying to keep up with everything, which added another layer of difficulty. But Keenan and Kel were fantastic. They were phenomenal. It was great working with them. They had a lot of fun cameos that came in and people just doing really weird stuff.
Yeah.
Lots of food spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
In the heart of Nickelodeon, we had to spray a lot of people with food.
Yeah, well, spoiler, like the end of the movie is just like a giant food explosion in the whole building.
Yeah. That was chaotic.
Yeah.
Chaotic, but it happened.
Yeah. It's a scene that pretty much it shows AI making burgers. Why? I mean, I guess it just starts food fight with everybody.
Essentially. It's like AI is taking over the jobs of like Good Burger got bought out by an evil corporation and they're trying to replace all the workers with AI. So their way to stop that is to like screw up with the system. And so then everything just starts going haywire and it's like spraying of ketchup and mustard and Ed sauce, hamburgers being thrown everywhere, French fries being thrown everywhere, like just food getting thrown everywhere in every direction.
Yeah. So props wise, did you guys just get to sit off camera and throw burgers at people?
Yeah, I think on that day I had a crew of it was me plus plus our food stylist, plus the special effects crew, which I think was an additional 3 or 4 people, and we were just lobbing things. And of course, when you start like throwing food at people, like other people who aren't doing anything, like ACs are like, "Can I throw a burger?"
Yeah,
like, here you go, buddy, throw away. And it's just like everybody wants to throw something.
Yeah, well, not often you get an opportunity to throw anything at actors' faces. So.
Yeah, right. It's a free for all.
I know. I mean, especially. I mean, you said that this was a pretty tough movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a comedy kid show. A lot of stuff being
hard,
last minute and like, oh, you know what would be funny is if we
Yeah.
did this, or like, ooh, you know what, we should try doing that. We definitely, there were times where what we had prepped was brought out to set, and the person who made the decision looked at me and went, "Oh, is that what we're doing?" It's like, "Yes, this is what we talked about. Like we've talked about this a bunch." He's like, "Ugh, yeah, but I picked that 2 weeks ago," and it's like, That's
still
the reason.
Yeah.
You didn't tell me in between that you changed your mind. He's like, "Yeah, I didn't know I wanted to change my mind until I saw it here," and it's like, okay, so what do you want?
Yeah,
he's like, well, I guess this will work. And it's like, cool, great.
It's still a pick. You still made the pick.
So it was a lot of like last minute and like new ideas that just pop up with people being so creative, and just the scramble of like, all right, let's glue this thing to that thing, and like the best laid plans of the things that you did plan just completely falling apart on the day and just being like, oh.
Yeah, did you have the same food stylist from Julia on that?
I did, yeah.
What a difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we talked about that a lot. We went from making, like, Julia Child's food to, like, all right, I need a burger, but it can't look like a good burger. It needs to look like a better good burger, because it's a mess. It's like, we got to figure out how to make Ed sauce, but we need to make it edible. This person's a vegan. This person is dairy-free. We need to figure out how to create this burger to look like that burger, because they're sitting on the same thing. It's a lot of food.
Yeah.
A lot of food. She got a whole taco truck to do all her prep out of.
So, that's awesome.
Yeah, so she could do, like, they had deep fryers in there, so she could do the French fries and the onion rings, and, like, all that stuff. And, like, the food came out really nice, and it looked really good, but it was just an excessive volume of it.
Working off a food truck in that situation seemed like a perfect situation.
Oh yeah, it was definitely one of those those eureka moments where I'm like, if I have another food show, like, I'm just gonna request a food stylist because we just got it through catering, because they had they're like, oh yeah, we have another truck, and they maintained it for us when she needed extra help with someone who, if like we just needed at the drop of a hat, they'd be like, oh, don't worry, he's gonna come in once he's done dishing this up with lunch and come help you do all of this. And it was like really nice to have that kind of like built in.
Yeah. And what's been nice to, at least, like, I mean, I think of doing movies like this, it's like at least your first prop run, it's like, okay, let's match all the existing material that we had. Did you have access to any assets, or are they completely gone?
There were a lot of the assets were gone, and like a lot of the assets, because of the nature of the movie, were the name tags. Like when it came to props, like it's food, it's name tags, it's a spatula, you know? Yeah. And so we didn't really have a lot of access to that, but ISS did have all of like the original files for the graphics. And so
no way.
I was
like
able
for the burger bags and stuff.
Yeah,
like
they had
that?
They did all of our burger bags. Like I had to go through them for a bunch of stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, we already have it. And I sent in like our new updated one so it matched. Yeah. But it was like still nice that they were like, oh yeah, we got this file, we got that file. Yeah. If you feel like using this, we can do that. Yeah, so it was mostly from scratch, but we had the basis there to like get us going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Got anything coming up?
No. You heard of anything?
No, it's been complete. I heard of anything. I brought you here
right.
to work with
anything
me.
Else? Thanks again.
That was last week, Mike.
This is this
week.
Last week.
Yeah, I'm now unemployed again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, what's coming up is the day job.
Yeah. No, hopefully, I mean, we're getting towards the end there. I don't know, by the time this comes, not to date this episode, but hopefully by the time this comes up, the Teamsters will have a contract too, and we'll all be going back to work.
I would love that. I would love that.
Yes, but yeah, thank you for coming out and helping me out on
Yeah,
the show
happy to
and stuff
be
like
here.
that. It was good to have all of us working on at least trauma bonding on it.
Yeah, I think trauma bonding's right. Brooks and I actually haven't worked together
Since Barry.
Since Barry season
The
1.
show I met my wife on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little Brooks trivia.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, so before we wrap out, I want to talk about Brooks. You're now an associate member of the Property Masters Guild. It's something that's been open. It's a new thing, but it's growing number. So
I'm waiting for my sweet card since that's why I joined.
For the card alone.
For the cool membership cards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, they are pretty cool. You'll get it. That's one benefit of being able to join. But another big benefit that you'll be able to do now that you're members, that you'll actually be able to vote for the awards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited about that.
Yes, I
He watched me
As you
sit
should
for
be.
a couple hours on Saturday, being like, "I gotta fill this out really quick. I gotta get this done."
There were some really good packets, but luckily,
There were.
luckily you only need to vote on the ones that are already nominated. So
that's good.
that slims the list down by probably half. So.
A lot.
Yeah, by a lot.
Yeah, there were
So many good
so
ones.
many good packets.
So many good packets.
And I was blown away by how much good work there is
Right?
out there, and it's incredible.
I know.
Especially after like the year that we all had.
yeah,
It was
right?
like, look at all of this. It was like really impressive. I know we had kind of talked about it being like, okay, I'm going to go through and look at this. Then you start looking at it, you're like, well, shit. This
No,
is
yeah,
like really
there's-
good.
There's stuff in there that you didn't even realize. Like there's one prop. Like I'm not gonna give too much away to be biased or anything, but like there's going through one packet. There was one project that they started detailing the props, and it's about like, oh well, we found out a new way to put carbon fiber into rubber so it doesn't have flexibility. Like you remember that Game of Thrones situation that happened where Jon Snow jumps up on the horse and the sword just starts wobbling around.
Yeah.
Like that's a real thing. It's like you can't give them a real sword when they're jumping on a horse, but to keep that wobble down. On this show, they figured out how to reduce the wobble in the rubber, but still make it rubber and safe by putting a different armature in it. And I was like, holy shit, this like is revolutionary, like in the prop world. Like that's such a huge deal. And then implementing it so there's like little like tidbits like that you're finding in some of these packets that you kind of wouldn't realize ahead of time. It's like, okay, this stuff is kind of going a long way, and it's very cool.
Yeah. It was like kind of inspirational in some of them.
Totally.
'Cause it was just like
100%.
you were so creative with this. This is beautiful. Like these are beautiful products that I like never even would have associated with the film. And I'm staring at this. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I will say we learned recently that the hardest props are actually the easiest things in life. Like the fax machine we've discovered was the hardest thing to produce.
Oh yeah.
Is a working fax that looks like it's from the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I gotta shout out to Gabe Perello for kindly just offering me the fax machine rig that she gave me, or that she used on the project that she just wrapped up with. She's like, you can just use it. I already rigged. I was like,
It's not.
thank you.
We were dumbfounded. We had this long list of things, and almost all the hard ones we were knocking off. And they're like, "We need a fax that looks like it was torn off the fax machine. It has to be produced by a fax machine." And that was the biggest hurdle we had the whole show. Was just getting this. Well, that and a business card.
Well, it's stuff you wouldn't think of. But then we talked to Gay. She's like, "Oh, people do not realize how tough getting a rigged active fax machine from the 80s is." She's like, "It was one of my hardest props." I was like, "Okay, I don't feel crazy."
Like, give me a laser gun to make. I'll do that tomorrow. But like a working fax from the 90s.
Yeah. It's I don't feel as crazy anymore. But like, I think that's a thing going into this that's helped us so much with the PMG. Anyways, it's just like the willingness to help out and stuff. Even just walking through the aisles of ISS, just like finding somebody and they're like, "Oh, you look stressed." Or you're like, "Well, I'm trying to do this, and this," and then having somebody like Andy Siegel or somebody just being like, "Well, you should just do this, and that. Call them and tell them you have this and this much money." I was like, Oh, okay. You could just do that? All right.
And we did, and it worked.
Yes.
And then they cut it.
That is true.
The heartbreak.
Yeah. But yeah, that's some of the benefits. So associates, you will get those benefits too by joining also.
Cool.
But a cool card.
Honestly, I was most excited to hear about your guys' educational area and the mentorship the mentorship process that I've only heard. I have no details about what it is other than I heard that it exists, and that makes me excited and happy.
Yeah, there's tons of classes coming up. I think we have. I'm trying to think of when this is going to come out. I'm done updating ourselves, but whenever this is out, there should be either master classes coming. There's like a whole line of them that we have in the plan, which is manufacturing. We're going to bring in a CPA that'll tell you about incorporating and the benefits to incorporating around like maybe your trailer and stuff like that. So there's a lot of really good educational opportunities around that stuff that we're going to start providing coming up that I think is amazing, and I'm really excited about. There's also what is it? We're also getting more in the works with mental health. So I wanted to just shout that out. Yeah. Like I think we're gonna have a monthly meetup mostly for retirees or anybody that's been affected by the industry mentally that needs to go in, and I think there is a therapist that's going to meet with them and on a monthly basis they can ask questions revolving around and just, I don't know, air your problems and stresses around the industry and retiring if it's come to a stop. So that's another cool thing that I think it's coming into. So there's stuff in the work.
Yeah. I feel like you're going to need more than one therapist.
I don't know. I kind of love the idea of like prop master group therapy. I feel like it's gonna have a lot of tears, a lot of laughs. Tears, a lot of laughs. Yep.
Are associates allowed to partake?
I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I'm just finding I don't know where the lines are drawn on that stuff. So
yeah, mental health.
I feel like I'm on since I'm just an associate, I feel like I'm on the free version of Hulu where you still get commercials. Rather than like the full version where you don't have commercials. So I'm just trying to figure out where my commercial break is with all of this.
You're like for associates, I would say theirs is like the basic plan. It's not premium like a general members go, but exactly. Yeah, so that's where you'll be. Other announcements that I have to say, that I keep forgetting in the last podcast, but we have LA Comic-Con coming up. We were there last year. We had a really cool booth. This year we're going to cut that booth in half because the huge booth was a lot for us. So it's going to be equally just as cool, but we're going to have like a nice 10 by 20 space, and we're going to have a lot of really, really cool props. I think we're going to display some stuff from Back to the Future 2. It's going to be pretty fantastic. I know Brooks is going to volunteer and run the booth
because it's awesome. It was an awesome event. I loved it.
Yeah.
Just we needed to make that very clear. It was great.
Yeah, we're going to have a few panels again. It's going to take place on the first weekend of October. I think it's 3rd, 4th, and 5th of October. So
also a fun one to dress up for if you're into that. Just cosplaying at LA Comic-Con is just like San Diego Comic-Con, but a little better because it's less crowded.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going to be boothed up right next to the SDSA, our sister organization, also this year. So nice. That's going to be a cool thing. So you'll be able to come by. I'll shout it out once we know exactly where we're going to be on the floor. But you should definitely come by and say hi. Come to our panels. Check out all the cool props. I think we're going to have a little bit of an interactive thing this year too. Maybe some like fake weights that look real that they can take pictures with.
I use those every day at the gym.
Yeah, I know.
I will say though, like volunteering was awesome, and everybody that should, because if you ever wanted to feel like a rock star, walk around and talk to people that don't normally have experience with the industry and let them ask you questions.
Oh, it feels great.
Because you're just going to walk around like, yeah, I made fake dog poop for that. That was all me. And they're like, oh my God, was it really fake? And you're like, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to have you on for a while, and then we were saying that we're just going to do Zoom style, but I'm glad we were able to do it in studio.
Yeah,
it feels
nice.
a lot better.
I get to be here. It feels like a part of it. It's so nice.
Yeah. Brooks, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Lauren, thanks.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
Yeah.
Can we also address how awesome Dave Built a Maze is? Just
my
as
God.
a prop world.
You're
I feel
killing
like
me.
I need to address it every time I'm
killing
around Lauren, because
He really does love that
He
movie.
loves this movie.
He loves
like
that
I am
movie.
not starstruck ever, but as soon as I met Lauren and she's like, I did Dave Built a Maze, I lost my goddamn mind.
It's Dave made a maze just to...
Built, made,
Yeah.
they mean the same fucking thing.
Hey, show respect.
I did. I'm
Yeah.
bringing it up
yeah.
because it's awesome. Just in terms of really creative handmade props that come out of nowhere with a story that makes literal no sense and all of the sense all at once.
Oh, my God.
Cardboard Minotaur, man. It's a D&D kid's dream.
It was
Yeah.
a really fun show.
Yeah. Well, there you go. A special thanks also to Remy De La Mora for helping us out on the board today.
De nada.
God damn it. I'm married, Brooks. I'm married.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, this was a good show. And anybody have anything else to add?
There's just a lot of M's to say Dave made a maze rather than Dave built a maze. Like it's a tongue twister.
Until next time.